Welcome to the How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast, the show where brilliant professionals share how to sharpen the universal skills required to flourish at work. Enjoy more career fun, wins, meaning, and money with your host, Pete McCarthy.
Hello and welcome to episode 905 with Lisa McCarthy. Lisa has some excellent principles to help you achieve your biggest goals in 1 year. So you'll learn 1, how to manage your inner critic. 2, the benefits of sharing your goals with others. And 3 words to avoid using. So if you want to check out the show notes or the transcript or the links to items that we've referenced, please drop on by awesomeatyourjob.com/EP905. Now here's a bit about Lisa. Lisa McCarthy is Fast Forward CEO and co-founder. And prior to launching Fast Forward, she spent 25 years at prominent media companies, Univision, Viacom, and CBS, leading sales organizations that were responsible for billions in revenue. She's been recognized as a people-first leader and change agent and was named a woman to watch by Advertising Age and was included in Crain's New York Business 40 Under 40 list. She experienced the costs of an always-on workplace where people end up simply surviving, putting out fires, and often putting their happiness and health on hold. And together, she and Wendy designed a simple and immediately actionable system of power principles to help people achieve success and fulfillment in their whole lives. So huge thanks to Lisa for sharing her wisdom with us. And a huge thanks to our sponsor, Dash Hudson. If you do marketing work or manage social media, it can feel mighty overwhelming navigating the ever-changing social media landscape. Great marketers need access to the latest insights and best practices to thrive without spending eons just to keep up with what's going on with the newest everything. And a great resource for that is Dash Hudson's Social Media Trends Report. Dash Hudson is a social media management platform that delivers sophisticated insights and workflow tools. Dash Hudson is trusted by thousands of brands like United Airlines, Rare Beauty, and Procter & Gamble. It keeps you in the know and saves you time. And now they are proud to offer their highly anticipated Social Media Trends Report. This report unveils the social media industry's leading trends and insights. And I think my fave was that creators who post on behalf of a brand on Instagram had 16 times the engagement rates as compared to those brands who directly natively engaged on Instagram. Oh, so find those influencers apparently instead of going direct to get 16 times the impact. That's just good to know. You can learn that and a whole lot more by downloading their trends report and signing up for a free 14-day trial of Dash Hudson today at dashhudson.com/podcast. That's spelled DASHHUDSON.com/podcast. Now, here is Lisa. Lisa, welcome to How to Be Awesome at Your Job.
Thank you. Great to be here, Pete.
Well, I'm excited to dig into the wisdom you've got for us in your book, Fast Forward, 5 Power Principles to Create the Life You Want in Just 1 Year. Can you share with us any particularly surprising counterintuitive discoveries you made along the way putting this together?
Well, we had to use our 5 power principles because we're in year 11 of our business. And I guess as of year 1, people kept asking us, when is the book coming out? When are you going to write the book? And we'd say, we're not doing that yet. And finally, 2 years ago, we threw our hat over the wall, which is one of the expressions we use in the book and in our programs. And we just committed to it, even though we didn't know how, and even though it felt like a mountain. And just like we share our system in the book, we created a vision. And then we just said, what's the next step? What's the next step after that? What's the next step after that? And getting to every rung of the mountain, we did it. And what makes the book is the interviews. We interviewed 30 people, 30 graduates, and asked them, how have the power principles in our system made a difference in your life? And the stories knocked us out. They just knocked us out and really inspired us about the difference this system has made in so many careers and lives.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so then tell us, what's sort of like the big idea or main message behind Fast Forward?
The main message is there is a lot of things that you can't control. People can't control the economy, politics. We can't control other people, even though we'll continue to try. We can't control the weather, but there's so many things we can control. And this book is all about taking ownership of your future, taking ownership of your career, your business, your life, and what's important to you. And most years, we run and 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 then we pass out. and then we go on vacation and we do it again. So this book is all about how do you live your life by envisioning a future that really lights you up. And even if you don't know how to get there, by getting it on paper and sharing it with other people, anything is possible.
Okay. And so you have 5 power principles here. What exactly do we mean by a power principle?
A power principle is a tangible, actionable step to take so that you can create the life you want in 1 year. And at the end of the book, we talk about Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and Glinda says, you had the power all along. And that's what we believe. So it's all about harnessing that power and getting intentional about where you want to apply it.
Okay. Could you give us an example of someone who was not working in accordance with the power principles and then adopted one and saw some really cool results?
Well, the majority of the people that do our program, and really the book is based on a program that we've done with over 100,000 people, what all of the companies share in common, whether they're small, medium, large, whether they're in the United States or whatever industry they may be in, is that they're fast-paced, high pressure, and dealing with uncertainty and change. So that's what all these companies have in common. So when you're in that kind of workplace, people are reactive. People are focused on what do I need to get done by Friday in order to keep my job, get some healthy meals on the table, maybe go to the gym. And so that's where most people are when they get to our program. And they may be crushing it at work and often sacrificing what's important to them at home. They may be kind of calling it in work because they feel that that's what they need to do to keep things, all the balls in the air. And so the majority of the people we've worked with will share that this gave them a system to believe and action on that it is possible to design your whole life, to succeed professionally and personally, and not only in terms of outcomes, but also your relationships, the quality of your relationships, how you feel when you go to sleep at night, what you're known for as a friend and a leader and a parent. And so that happens again and again and again every single week. And when you're a person that's in the blender or on the treadmill, as we like to say, this is freedom. This is really believing that you now have the power, and people have gotten promoted, changed their career, gotten married, gotten divorced, had a baby, run a marathon. Like that's what's possible, because when you believe it, you then confidently go in that direction to make it happen.
Okay. Well, and can we zoom into one story of a particular person and what they did and what they saw?
Sure. I recently had an executive in the program that is working in Italy. Here's one example where she felt that she needed to stay in Italy for her husband's business. And so her limiting belief was, this is it for me. I'm going to manage Italy, but I'm not going to be able to move up at my organization. And one of the things she got in her bold vision and working using this structure was that was a barrier she created for herself, that particularly after COVID, there's different ways to lead and you don't have to physically move in many situations. So she wrote in her bold vision, 1 year from today, I'm managing an additional country. My scope has expanded. My people have expanded. I'm making more money. And then she read her vision to her manager. And obviously that requires vulnerability, but it's putting it out there. It's saying like, this is what success looks like for me. And then 6 months later, when that country manager moved on in Spain, she's now running Italy and Spain. And she actually said, we're getting testimonials every week, but she actually said, my marriage is also so improved, but I'm not going to get into those details in this email. So
Okay.
that's one example.
All right. Well, so what are these 5 power principles? Can you give us the overview of them?
Sure. So the 5 power principles are in the areas of vision, planning, mindset, and communication, because all of those things are things that you can control. So that's the focus of the system. The first one is to declare a bold vision, which we support people to go a year out. Like Pete, imagine December of 2024, write down what extraordinary success looks like. And we give people a very tangible, actionable 7-question exercise with samples of what a bold vision looks like. And this is not about fantasy. It's about committing to things that you would feel so proud and elated to have them be true. And you may not know how to get there and you could fail, but they're worth playing for. So that's power principle number 1. Power principle number 2 is all about mindset. So it's choose a new perspective. And we help you identify disempowering perspectives or stories that we all have, stories about ourselves, stories about other people, stories about your circumstances, your company. And then if they're empowering, keep going. Like, I crushed it in that presentation. I'm going to get promoted. I love working with that partnership, the marketing team or the sales team. But most of the time, people have negative, disempowering stories, or often, I don't want to say most of the time. So we have people identify the story, then look at the cost. What's the cost to you of that story? And we have a model that helps you choose a new perspective. Power principle number 3 is plan the work and work the plan. How do we evolve this bold vision into an incremental action plan over the next 90 days? Or if I have a really bad habit, how do I replace it with a good one? What's going to be different? Power principle number 4 is to use language of action. How do you elevate your influence? How do you run a meeting that actually produces an outcome? Because meetings are such a giant pain point. And then finally, power principle number 5 is to stop talking and get curious, which is really game changing for relationships.
And then when it comes to choosing a new perspective, can you give us some examples of common perspectives many people have that aren't serving them very well?
Sure. So people say things about themselves like, I'm not as smart as my peers. And what is the cost of that? Because people can be 80% of the universe has imposter syndrome. So we have this disempowering perspective. I'm not as smart as these other people. And there's a high cost to that because you are less inclined to make a recommendation, offer another point of view. So there's a cost to your self-worth. There's a cost to your productivity. There's a cost to your confidence. There's a cost to your impact. And you're busy collecting evidence for, oh my God, I can't believe what he said. I can't believe what she said. Like, I can't articulate an idea in that way. And when you see the cost of the story, you then, using our model, can brainstorm other perspectives, such as, like, I've seen time and time again, people choose a perspective such as, I have significant value to contribute. I am a very strong asset. This team needs me. And then you start practicing that and collecting evidence for that. And when you write it down and you share it out loud with someone else, it makes a meaningful difference. And it's very important what you say to yourself and what you say to others. So sometimes people keep disempowering perspectives to ourselves because we're sabotaging ourselves or we have imposter syndrome as we move up. But other times there's things like you have a negative perspective about, happens often, like the marketing team has a perspective on the sales team. They don't get what we do. They don't appreciate what we do. Or that executive is incompetent and should be fired. And you're collecting evidence for why they should be fired. And the reality is they're not getting fired. So there's a high cost to you. You're the one that's going home frustrated at night, complaining to people that can't make a difference versus taking on a new perspective that we need each other to produce the result. It's up to me to improve this relationship. I really value what they do and we need it to achieve success. So you're trying on new stories. And then, one about the circumstances, Pete, is most or many people say things like, there's not enough hours in the day. Well, guess what? If you say there's not enough hours in the day, every day you're going to feel overwhelmed and you're going to be reactive and you're going to go to sleep at night exhausted. However, if you were to choose the perspective, which I do, and we're always encouraging people in our programs and our company to do, and it's easier said than done, but just to give you an example, since you asked for it, I have enough time to do what's important to me. Now, if I'm looking through that lens, I am going to have to delegate more often at work and at home. I am going to have to say no to things that don't line up with my vision. And this is possible. I am going to have to decline meetings because I'm going to get thoughtful on Sunday night. What are the meetings that are really going to be important for me to attend? So those are some examples. Choose a new perspective is a game-changing power principle for so many people because we have disempowering perspectives, especially about people, professionally and personally. And many people, and I know you have a slightly younger audience, but as we move up and we take on more responsibility and we start families, a lot of people, especially women, have a negative perspective that moving up requires too much sacrifice. And so sometimes we'll choose to stagnate and put a lid on ourselves versus my own perspective throughout my career, which was I'm going to have pressure at every level. I'm going to keep on moving up so I can make more money and delegate.
And can you give us some examples of what does this problematic self-talk sound like at times?
Oh, I'd love to give you an example because everyone has it. So here we go. I am so overwhelmed. I can't believe I said that in the meeting. I'm probably getting fired. Like I didn't prepare. I procrastinated. I stayed up till 11 o'clock last night, watching Netflix, scrolling through Instagram, not doing what I should have been doing. And then I said I was going to go to the gym. And of course I didn't go to the gym because I pressed snooze and I didn't have the motivation. This always happens. And I ate all those carbs for breakfast and I need to call my mother. I'm just such a bad daughter. And I say I want to meet someone, but then I don't even go out on a Friday or Saturday night. And I just lost my temper with my wife and I have to be more patient. I have to be more patient and I have to work on my LinkedIn. I have no story. I have to work on my branding, but I hate branding. I hate merchandising myself and I really don't like networking and I'm just exhausted.
All right. Well, and so now when you talk about imposter syndrome or inner critic type issues, when we hear these words or phrases or dialogue inside our own heads, how do you recommend we manage that?
I recommend, so we have a whole piece in the book focused on managing your inner critic. And ultimately, this is how human beings are wired. So we're not going to get rid of this. And we've had so many people in the program say, but wait, my inner critic drives me. This is how I've come as far as I have. And we actually created a distinction that above the line is productive feedback. Like if you just did a meeting or you just did a call or you just did a presentation, like really looking at what worked, what didn't work, and how could I improve? That's productive, constructive, rational. But then below the line is this, ranting, critical, harsh voice that says things to yourself that you would never say to other people. And we actually recommend writing it down because when you write it down, you actually see it's not true. It's just what you're saying to yourself over and over and over again. If you have the courage, you would share it with one person that you feel safe with out loud. And their job is not to convince you otherwise. Their job is just to listen because when you say it out loud, it mitigates the significance. And a lot of times, sometimes people get emotional. Like, how could I treat myself in this way? That's not okay. And then other times I've seen people laugh like, this is ridiculous. I would never speak to anyone that I respect in this way. And I'm going to stop speaking to myself. So that's step one. Then we give people other recommendations in the book, like focus on your strengths, because a lot of times people are not. And if I were to interview every reader of this book, I know that if they were putting together their LinkedIn, there would be 2 or 3 strengths that they could identify. And, simple things, and this has been so useful to so many people that do our program, is to every night write down 3 things that you're proud of and did well. Because most of the times people go to sleep and they feel exhausted. They're just like scrolling through Instagram or watching, episode 7 on Netflix, passing out and thinking about the mountain of work and everything that they didn't do. So take a moment to really fuel yourself and write down 3 things that you're proud of or did well in the last 24 hours. Not, for your 6-month review, but like in the last 24 hours, because we find what we're looking for. So if that's one of your practices every day, like going to the gym or drinking 8 glasses of water, start looking for what you did well. And if you share it out loud, for a full year, I would call my sister every night and say, here's what I'm really proud of. Here's where I really crushed it today. And obviously, if you had a crappy day, like you're not going to fake it. But if you're taking on that practice, and I recommend every single listener does that, immediate shift.
All right. Well, and I'm also curious when it comes to working with other people, you recommend we share our goals with others. Can you expand upon that, sort of like the benefits and how we can go about doing that well?
Yeah. Well, first off, research shows that when you write things down, I think the number is 60% more likely to happen based on one of the studies we used. And then if you share it out loud, that number goes up by 25%. So most people are goal setting in a very safe, vague way because their manager told them to. So you have to put X number of goals in the system. Sometimes people never look at them again. But there's some companies that are very rigorous about put your goals in the system. We're going to evaluate you twice a year. We're going to do calibrations to see who gets promoted. I mean, companies differ in their approach. But let's hope that people are putting down a few goals every year, professionally and personally. We recommend a much more rigorous approach because instead of setting safe, predictable goals that you know how to achieve so that you look good, we're actually proposing that you throw your hat over the wall. Like you get to a big wall and you say, okay, I'm just going for this and I could fail and I may not get all the way there, but I'm going to get further because I went for it and I dreamed big. And instead of keeping your ambitions and your dreams to yourself and then under promising and over delivering or not saying out loud what I'd love to be in a meaningful relationship, or I'd love to be healthy and lose 10 pounds, or I want to get promoted. I want to, get a new job in my company or leave my company. If you write it down as if it's already happened, even if you don't know how, that's the whole game. And then if you share it out loud, pretend, Pete, 12 months from now, I'm sitting at lunch with you. This year was awesome. This year was awesome. Let me share what happened and what is happening, what I achieved and how I feel and the quality of my relationships. And that's the whole game. That's what I recommend, that people write down a bold vision that's specific, that's measurable, that's vivid, that has you feel inspired and uncomfortable. And then you share it with at least one other person, which is going to require vulnerability and courage, and it's worth it.
Okay. And in this language that we're using, both internally and with others and in meetings and in sharing our goals, I'm curious, are there any particular key words or phrases you recommend folks use, you love, or words and phrases you recommend folks lose, like they're problematic and no good for us?
Well, one of the biggest mantras that's come out of, I don't know if it's a mantra, but the first question in our bold vision exercise is, what are you known for? And most people that are doing are not focused on who they're being. So I tell a story that's true for me, that people, when I was in my 30s especially, I was known for being very busy. And the reason I was known for being really busy is that people said, how are you? I would say I'm really busy in an intense way. And as a result of that, you can imagine, like, nobody was coming to me with the big idea. Nobody was inviting me to things, and I was not accessible and not present. So when I did my own personal professional development work way back in my 30s, and I'm now 56, I realized that was not okay with me. So I said, I am no longer using the busy word. And guess what? I'm not using the stressed word. And I'm not using the tired word. So we have a big sticker in our program that says BTS with a line through it. And it's not back to school. And it's not the Asian pop band. It's stop using the words busy, tired, stress. And now if you were to say to me, Lisa, I know you're really busy, I'd say, I'm not busy. I have enough time to do what's important to me. I would say, I'm in demand or overly fulfilled. I have my new language to replace that old language. So thousands of people are no longer using the B word. And you get to choose your language. Again, back to what you can control and what you can't control. And there's days when there's disappointment. So, I'm not saying like, don't feel disappointment, don't feel sad. And all of us at certain points in our career and our life have situations that we really wish were different. But even then, you can choose your outlook. You can say things to yourself like, I'm going to be stronger from this challenge or situation, and the future, like everything's going to be okay. So I just think the mantras really make a difference. You can fuel yourself. And so that's one example of no longer using the B word. And I think in terms of like mantras of what people can do, throw your hat over the wall. And that means when you get to like a big wall, which means any challenge or any ambition and dream that you don't know how to accomplish, throw your hat over. So say like, this is happening. This already happened, because human beings are creative and resourceful, and we will find other people and the strength and creativity within ourselves to make it happen.
All right. Well, Lisa, tell me anything else you want to make sure to mention before we shift gears and hear about some of your favorite things.
I want to tell people to go get our book and get the system and write a bold vision and not procrastinate. Get their bold vision on paper, follow. It's a very simple, actionable exercise. Read it out loud and then use the other 4 power principles to make it happen, to really create the life you want, not the life that you should have or other people think you should have, but the life that you would really feel so proud and happy to say is yours a year from today.
All right. Well, now could you share a favorite quote, something you find inspiring?
I love Abraham Lincoln's quote. It's not the years in your life. In the end, it's not the years in your life. It's the life in your years.
Okay. And a favorite book?
I love autobiographies. So my favorite 2, even though you asked for 1, but my favorite 2 in the last year were All In by Billie Jean King, a icon in our country. And I loved Open, which is by Andre Agassi.
And a favorite tool, something you use to be awesome at your job?
Ooh. Besides Fast Forward, which I use the power principles often, particularly for my own challenges, there's a model I use, which the Harvard Business Review shared. I have an article from 2015, which is all about debriefing. It's from the military, but we can apply it in any business. And it's about constantly looking at what actually happened and taking your emotion out of it. And what did we want it to look like? What did it look like? And how can we use that learning to have the future be different than the past?
All right. And a favorite habit?
Yoga.
Okay. And is there a key nugget you share that really seems to connect and resonate with folks? They quote it back to you often. They retweet it. They Kindle book highlight it.
Language creates reality.
All right. And if folks want to learn more or get in touch, where would you point them?
Our website, fastforwardgroup.net. And my email, which I don't always go out, but always happy to hear from people that want to create the life they want. Lisa@fastforwardgroup.net.
And do you have a final challenge or call to action for folks looking to be awesome at their jobs?
I absolutely do. Do not settle. You have one life to live. Create your bold vision, share it out loud, and make it happen.
All right, Lisa, this has been a treat. I wish you much luck in fast forwarding.
Thank you. Great to be here, Pete. It was awesome.
I love what Lisa had to say about writing down the 3 things you did that day you're proud of as a means of getting that inner critic back in line and more manageable. And I found when I've been in periods of self-doubt that this practice really does make a world of difference. Sometimes immediately and just about always over the course of 5 days, you do it, you look back and say, oh, wow, this is pretty substantial. What was I thinking? Silence. Inner critic. Yes, I make mistakes. Yes, I'm imperfect. Yes, I wish I had accomplished more and things could be better. But geez, just look at all this proud goodness. Great stuff from Lisa. Again, the show notes, the transcript, and the links to items that we've referenced are found at awesomeatyourjob.com/EP905. Hope to catch you next time, and peace.
Thanks for listening. To get the most out of the show, we recommend 2 key things. First, check out the extra resources at awesomeatyourjob.com. You can find this episode's transcript and links, as well as the perfect episode for your situation. You can search the full text transcripts of hundreds of episodes or explore episodes tagged by topic and competency covered. Second, subscribe to the podcast and get future episodes automatically. You can subscribe by telling Siri and several other smartphones and speakers, subscribe to the How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast, or by tapping subscribe in your podcast player of choice. If you'd like some extra help figuring out podcasts and how subscriptions work, visit awesomeatyourjob.com/subscribe for guidance. Hope to catch you on the next episode of How to Be Awesome at Your Job.